Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WPwatercooler's WPblab, episode number 121.
Nice.
121. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about the importance of visual branding with our friend Michelle. But before we talk about Michelle, we like to talk about ourselves and be rude. Bridget Willard, tell us a little about yourself.
So my name is Bridget Willard, and I am a freelance, self-employed person, and I am available for hire. But I only have 2 spots for social media management. So I do consulting, I teach, whatever, like social media stuff for WordPress agencies and products, mostly. And a couple of coaches. It's a weird combination. But, whatever. Sometimes I blog about things that I ran about at bridgetwillard.com. Otherwise, you can find me on the internet, 13 pages deep. Only Google search for my name.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter. My website is jasontucker.blog. And I do this show. This is WPblab. We also do another show called WPwatercooler, which will be happening tomorrow at 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific. So feel free to go take a look at that. I host a WordPress meetup here in Whittier, California, where we do that. I can't remember which Monday of the month it is, but it's one of the Mondays a month, and it's third Monday. What I thought. And I just show up. My calendar goes off, and it says, "Okay, you're supposed to be there." So yeah, we host that over there. So feel free to go take a look at that. I've actually had some people that have watched the show that have actually come to the meetup.
Oh, really?
I've had people, yeah. And I also get those people that go in their dashboard and they see the meetup listed there. And then they rush over to go to the meetup. It's the weirdest thing.
Oh, the internet works.
I know, right? I probably should have said I'm teaching Twitter at the Carlsbad meetup on Tuesday the 5th. But I forgot it was my turn. Oops, I guess I should get ready for that.
All right, we've been rude long enough. Michelle, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hey, everybody. So I'm Michelle. I am an independent designer and front-end developer in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm like a reformed meetup organizer and WordCamp organizer. I don't do that anymore. And my Zoom thing just hit itself behind everything. All right. Hey, everybody. Okay. My computer's weird and windows just pop up in front of things. So that's really good user experience, which I would know because I do a lot of user experience and user interface design for both my own clients and also enterprise companies. So it's a subject near and dear to my heart. In addition to that, you can find me on the internet at Marktime Media, pretty much on every social network. My name is Michelle.com, and the newly launched fitness and freelance website that has another article publishing tomorrow, so that'll be fun.
Yay. That's awesome. I'm super excited about that site. I follow you on social media. I see you post stuff all the time on there. And for one, you use color like crazy. I mean, you wear color all the time. You're very colorful.
What are you talking about?
You're a very colorful person, but you totally know how to work the colors that are in the room and work those types of pieces. And that's just the designer in you knowing to kind of make that stuff happen. So super duper awesome. And I'm really excited to kind of see how that site works out for you. I did a health and fitness podcast many years ago. And health and fitness was fun. It was a cool thing to kind of talk about. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how you
Sometimes I do 10-minute yoga with Sarah Beth Yoga.
That's awesome. I'm actually really terrible at yoga, so you're probably much better at it than I am.
I'm like, my friend Carol Stevens says you can do anything for 15 minutes. I go, okay, I will do 10-minute yoga.
Then you have 5 extra minutes to do whatever you want.
Right?
Post it on the internet. So we wanted to talk about visual branding, not just on your website, but obviously your website's the hub. You as a small business owner, you as a WordPress freelancer. I just had a conversation with somebody who was like, I don't know how to get people to know me. And I was like, do X, Y, and Z. And he was like, oh, yeah, well, I got to design my site first. I'm like, okay. Well, I'm a something's better than nothing kind of a person. So I'd rather have words there and let Google, marinate about it while you get your dream colors going. Mm-hmm. But let's say your website's totally done. You have your color palette. Why just from a strategic standpoint, Michelle, can you explain to our audience why it's important to keep that visual branding across all of your curated platforms?
Well, I'm going to say I go so far, like, I not only eat my own dog food, like, I live this as my life, right? So I have personally have had pink hair for a decade now, which is amazing. But I did it at first on a whim, but as I cultivated it into my brand, I started doing it everywhere. And I'm using myself as a personal example because I live this, because I literally get work because I have pink hair, because I put pink on all my accessories. My website is pink. Like, I'm like the pink person, and I'm not getting people who want to pay me to make them pink stuff. Like, I am getting serious business, but they remember me because I'm consistent. Like, every time they see me, they're like, oh, it's Michelle. Like, I remember you. I saw you 5 years ago, but I remember you because you're distinct and consistent, and you're still the same, only more awesome, obviously.
Wait, like right there, I just want everybody to write down 2 words: distinct, consistent.
Yeah. Yes.
Totally.
Yes. And I think when it comes to brands too, and we were chatting a little bit about this in the pre-show, but this is something that I've been putting a lot of thought into. Really what it is across all your networks, across your website, across social media, across in-person, TV, like whatever, however you're communicating with people, what you want to think about is curated consistency, right? So some people think consistency and they think, let's, vomit the same content onto every single channel in the exact same way. That sounds great. It's super consistent, right? Well, no, because you have a different audience in every place. Like, I'm not going to walk up to you and just start spouting hashtags at you. I mean, I might, because I'm a millennial, like, hashtag, that's how I talk. But like, not really. I mean, I'm not going to walk up to you and try to tag somebody in a tweet. I'm not going to, try to publish long form content on Twitter. I'm not going to write a really long Twitter thread. Like, that's annoying. I could write long form content on a blog.
Right. Oh my God, I'm in love with you.
Right.
I'm sorry. I could not hold myself back anymore. Like, if you only made it to the first 8 minutes of the show, you could stop watching now and go fix all of your behavior. Thank you, Michelle, and for Server Press, who's sponsoring our live stream. You can find out more about them at serverpress.com.
Oh, that was
Microsoft Desktop Server and other cool things.
Yeah,
but Michelle, like, seriously, oh my God, curated consistency. Like, that needs to be, who owns curatedconsistency.com?
I don't know, maybe you will.
That needs to happen.
Maybe you will.
So bad. I love that term. Like, I am going to totally steal that. I'm sorry, but like, I just got so excited because I can't even tell you how many times I say, would you do that in real life? And then like, well, if I want long form content, I have a friend who posts long form content on Facebook. I'm like, what if Facebook shuts you down? Yeah, don't waste your, like every and I again, I do this in my own life. So like, I'm living this as a person and as a business, right? So my Instagram, I post very different things there than I do to Twitter. Twitter, the majority of people that are following me there are following me because of something business or design related. And so I share more so that side of me, like talking about work or talking about design or talking about, but I'm still me. So like, that's the other thing too, is consistency, curated consistency. Just because it's curated doesn't mean it's not authentic. Oh my God, I love this. Wait, we have to have another pause.
Okay,
so you use Twitter for business.
Yes, but it's still me. Like,
so if you guys just got to the 10 minutes, you just got another nugget. There's your nugget. Business on Twitter. Okay. Yeah,
I actually I mean, it helps that I'm in the industry where people that would do business with me are on Twitter. Like, know where your audience is, right? If I'm trying to do business with, I don't know, like real estate agents, maybe Twitter's not the best place. Maybe LinkedIn would be better. But like, I'm doing business with tech and design people, and like, that is all over Twitter. And what I'm doing there is on every platform, I'm still me. So it's still the same voice, it's the same tone, it's the same kind of imagery, it's the same, like, it's all my life. But I'll curate kind of which spokes of my life are going to get more airplay on different networks, right? So Twitter, yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll talk about, anxiety or whatever, but it's in relation to being an entrepreneur, which is on brand. Like, that's what I am. And I'll also talk about design, and I'll engage with people. Engaging with people, I'm not just saying stuff, like I'm having a conversation, right? It's a social network, not a word vomit network. Some people use it like a word vomit network. I don't know. But on Facebook,
I'm consciousness too, right?
Right. And that's okay. Like, if that's on brand, like, not everything has to be polished to be curated.
Right.
It just has to be intentional. Facebook, I'm mostly with people that I actually know in real life. So I'm going to share more of that content there. Like, they know that I'm in business, so I will still talk about what I do, because you can get referrals from your friends and family just as much as anyone else. But I'll share a little bit more personal stuff on Facebook. On LinkedIn, I'll primarily share stuff that actually has like a business benefit directly. I'll be honest, LinkedIn's been my weak spot, but this job that I've been working at Target, I literally got through LinkedIn. So, like,
oh my God, wait,
I know.
You got work from LinkedIn?
I got work from LinkedIn. Yes.
It's like we're connected in it's like brain waves.
Yeah. So, and it's because I did like set up my profile on there to talk about what I do very well. And I've started sharing more content as I'm generating it again, that is relevant to that side of my business. And then Instagram is more for me about sharing kind of beauty and beautiful things, but like relevant to what I'm doing in my life. And then I use Instagram stories to just like be silly and like put that out there to like personally connect with people. I also cross-post Instagram to Facebook, but that's really only because my mom doesn't have Instagram and she wants to see all my stuff. So this is for you, Mom. This is why I'm cross-posting. I don't usually advocate cross-posting very much, but moms, right?
I know
it's literally the same social network, though. It's a different version of the same social network.
It is, but it has a little bit of different use case. Like, I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah.
My mom's not on it. I have to text her everything.
I'm really glad my mom's on one social network so that I can at least be like, look at this stuff for the majority of what I'm doing. And if you want to know more, just ask. But the point is that all of these things are my authentic voice, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I say everything everywhere. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I say every single thing I'm thinking, because if I did that, that wouldn't, no.
Like,
exactly.
Hearts.
And businesses can do the same thing. I mean, if you look at the businesses that are most successful in social or online, they're consistent across everywhere. Like, you believe that it's the same voice. Like, Southwest is a great example. All of their print advertising, all of the people that you interact with, all of their Twitter, it's like professional, but not taking themselves too seriously. Like, that's their voice, right? It's like a little bit fun. Target, I mean, I'm immersed in it, so I know exactly how deliberate they're being. They're another great example of voice. Like, their language is fun and maybe a little punny, but like not, casual. It's kind of like relatable, but like corporate. It's good, but like it's consistent across everything. Like, they tweet that way, the print advertisements are that way, their websites are that way, all their copy is that way, the way they engage with you is that way, what they call things and how they refer to each other internally is that way. It's curated consistency, right? And it feels authentic that way, because that no matter how you interact with them, it's going to be the same voice. So like that's really who they are. They're not just like pretending to be a thing. Like, that's their business brand. So.
Yeah, and they even use terminology that their customers are using. So, for instance, I noticed one time that they talked about on your next Target run, like the idea of Target run. Yep. That's a term that's used by their customers. That they didn't come up with that. Their customers came up with it.
Yep.
And so being able to kind of use those types of terms, it really makes it sound like the brand understands how their customers feel, how their customers work. and just how all that stuff goes together. Like I can't see other brands doing those sorts of things where Target very much so could just kind of jump in and kind of make that happen.
Yep. And they're definitely very
cool.
deliberate about it. I mean, they have a whole like reasoning behind it, but that's what you are as a business. Like it's not haphazard, it's curated and it's consistent.
Right.
And it's authentic, and it feels, it doesn't feel fake. Like it feels purposeful. I mean, you know, it's a business communicating with you, you know, like there's no, I'm not pretending it's my best friend hanging out with me. Like, nah, it's a large corporation. They're kind of like my best friend because I spend more time with them than my best friend, but you know, it's fine.
So how do you stay consistent? Like how you being the, you know, you are all the things, you're the butcher, baker, candlestick maker of Michelle and the things that you put out there. How are you consistent with that? Are you the kind of person where an alarm goes off and you go like, oh, I need to do this now? Or are you like, or is it more of a where you're in the middle of a process that you're doing and then you say, I need to take a moment and actually share this part of what it is that I'm doing? Like, where are those triggers that you're doing to kind of be consistent?
Sure. I think it kind of depends on what your brand is, right? So I am not necessarily consistent like in a time-based way, but like there's certain people whose brands are like, I publish every day. So like their brand is being consistent from time, right? Mine, I would say, is more consistency of voice and the type of things I share. So there are like, if you follow me on Instagram, you'd probably like wonder if I was dead if I didn't post a workout selfie in the morning. Like, where is she? What's happening? Because I literally do this. Like, if you're not seeing a photo of like the salad I made for lunch and my workout selfie, you're gonna be like, are you okay? Right? But I mean, it's actually, it sounds trivial, but it's actually like on brand, especially now that I'm doing kind of this fitness and health blog thing where it's like, I want to share this part of my life. Like, this is me looking gross and working out. Like, I'm doing it. Like, this is me literally the salad I'm going to eat today. And here's what I put in it because this is what I'm doing. Right. Like,
no, that actually happened to me though, Michelle, more than once. I had somebody come up to me at a WordCamp in LA and say, I have some advice for you. And I said, oh yeah, what is it? And they said, I really think you should post more sunset pictures. And like, well, I'm not posting sunset pictures because I'm not at the beach. I said, right. And you need to get back to doing that. That was like a mental health checkup. That's even awesome. They noticed. Because like for me, I'm not up for your workouts. I see your sunsets.
That's good. Sunsets,
you know what I mean? But that's what they said, like, because I'm so consistent at doing those certain things. And I think that's the difference between people posting as themselves and businesses, right? So when we're in a world of freelancers becoming agencies, it's easy for us to be like, you and I and Jason are all who we are online, and we're very visible people.
Yep.
But when you're talking to somebody and they're not sure about like, well, why should I be on these networks and what should it look like and all that kind of stuff, is there like a process that they can go through before they can? I feel like the most visually complete people who are doing that branding, I think, are more self-aware. So for you actually have pink things everywhere. So it's not like you're staging everything. It's already staged, right? Whereas, and like Jen Miller always has her nails painted and she always takes a picture of her WordCamp badge with her red nail. Like that's her, right? So you don't have to stage it if it's you. And that's the authenticity that I think people are misunderstanding. A lot of times people use the word authenticity just to be kind of an asshole. Just, you know, you're rude and you're like, well, I'm authentic. I'm like, well, you're authentically a jerk. So congratulations, right? So like, how does a person who wants to be a business, right? Like for me, I used to be an employee, and then I'm like, okay, I'll start my own business. Well, for me, I knew why I wanted the logo I wanted, but how do you coach somebody in that transitional stage before they're 10 years in, like you are,
Sure.
or whatever?
Well, what I would say, and I kind of evolved into it, but I've evolved into it as social media evolved, because I basically, you know, I'm a millennial. Like, I started on social media when it was invented. So like, we've all been kind of making it up, but now that it's established and there is like a method to the madness at this point, I would say that when you're starting out and you're wondering like it's really about like, where do you want to invest your time? Because it is all time. And you can't be everywhere. Like, I'm not really on Pinterest. I mean, I could be, I guess, because I'm visual, but like, honestly, that wouldn't really benefit me that much. And I'm even though I'm a designer, I'm not on Dribbble, because I actually don't really care about impressing other designers that much. Like, that's just not my market. So I don't want to invest time there. I've done better investing time in the places that I feel like I can connect with people. And I say that as opposed to, I feel like I can get a return on investment, because you can't necessarily quantify that at that level. It's like the whole thing, like, you have to touch people like 5 different times or whatever before they remember you. Like, it's just one of those ways that you can interact with people and like be a real person. So I choose to invest my time on Twitter and on Instagram, and then to a lesser degree on Facebook, but only because Facebook is people that I do personally know, and so they're already like a warm audience. Twitter and Instagram, Twitter's kind of like a lukewarm audience. Like, some people I know, some people know me and I maybe don't know them, or some people I've never met, but they found me and they're following me. But I know that there's at least some lukewarm interest, because they found me. I didn't, like, it was all organic, like through, you know, tech and design and stuff. So I know they at least have something in common with me, or some interest in what I say. And Instagram is like totally cold, but like, I'm really mostly using it as like a very curated, like, slice of life, beautiful. Although I actually got a paying job from an Instagram photo, which was also awesome. Yeah, like, I posted a sunrise photo and somebody saw it. It was featured in the local paper, like on an online article, and they clicked on it and they clicked on my website from it, and they're like, oh, I need a website. And they contacted me.
Wow,
So
that's really rare.
Right?
That's
I know,
cool.
that's the weirdest thing, but it's because even though it's Instagram and I'm using it for this thing, I mention what I do in my description, and I have a link to my website in there, right? So like, I'm still me and I'm still a designer, no matter if it's sunsets or Twitter or whatever, right? So I would say, to go back to your actual question, when you're trying to look at where to be and like where to be consistent and where to invest your time, it's really about like, who are you trying to talk to and where are they going to be, and not necessarily thinking of it as a direct ROI, but thinking of it as like where you can have the most impact with your engagement. Because like, being helpful and interesting and smart means that you're just affecting people in that way, and then they'll think of you as a helpful and interesting smart person when they need you, as opposed to just being like a selling person. So like, as an example of selling people, like my property management company of this apartment complex I'm in, so they're very big, and you know, they have a social presence and whatever, and they're, you know, they post things that's like fun and quirky and whatever, but like, all they really ever post is about themselves. Like, they're just like, hey, come in and see our stuff, like we have cookies, and it's like fine, but it's like, no one's engaging with them, because they're not, I mean, they're being fun and they're being cute, and they understand being on social media, they're being consistent, but like, they're not engaging, they're not being, you know, they're just kind of selling. And it's better, again, not to think of it as a place to sell, but as a place to engage. And if you engage with people, you'll kind of sell yourself, you know?
Right. Plus, if you're trying to sell a lifestyle, you have to understand the lifestyle. And like, the whole thing with being online is sometimes humor is really tricky. You know what I mean? And if you don't understand your audience, a lot of people don't spend the time online just reading enough to know their audience. And then you'll post things that are relevant instead of just, considering what, I find my biggest frustration or pain point with educating my clients is that they see something in pop culture and they go, oh, we should do that.
It's too late. It already happened. You should have been there before you should have been the one making that happen.
And like, just to have a hashtag just because it's funny. Like, we all started doing ridiculous hashtags on Instagram because it was funny. And we can do hashtags on Twitter because it's sarcasm, right? But when you tell a client and they're not getting anything and they're hashtagging their name, oh, does anybody know John Doe is a home inspector? Do they know you're a home inspector? No. Well, then why are you hashtagging John Doe home inspection?
It should be hashtag John Doe's rolling in the dough. It should be.
Well, I mean, they don't realize that the purpose of a hashtag is for discovery and search and filtering. If the point is you want to use home inspection so that somebody clicks on that, like a realtor is looking for a home inspector, it's going to click on home inspection. And then they're going to find John Doe. But they didn't know you existed. So why are you hashtagging your name? Because you saw somebody else doing it. They were doing it because they saw somebody else doing it. Everybody's doing it because they see somebody else doing it. They're a bunch of lemmings jumping off the cliff. And then they say, social media doesn't work. Because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Oops. You don't know what you're doing.
Whoa.
I've never heard that word before.
I had a Gary Vee moment. I'm just saying, like, it's amazing to me. And then when I sit down with people and they go, well, what do I do? And I sit down with them, I charge them $150 and we do this over the Skype or whatever, their preferred Zoom, blah, 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 whatever. And they go, oh, and I go, well, try it. You try it. I want you to see how it's done. I even in my beginner day talk at LA, I said, how many of you put hashtags on Facebook? 90% of the room puts their hand up. How many of you click on hashtags on Facebook?
I think I accidentally did once.
0.
No.
So why are you using them? You're not even clicking. Why do you think anybody else is? So so I know that one of your, like, for me, I'm like more to the social science of it, but there's a lot of psychology that goes into, user interfaces. And that's like one of your big specialties. So like, I know that you mostly do that for maybe a customer journey on a website, but could you kind of talk to our audience? Our audience is mostly like plugin developers, WordPress freelancers. Like, how can they take what they know for building websites and translate that into how they curate their content online?
Sure. I mean, it's answering the same question. So it's the same question that I ask people when we're building a website is like, who are we building this for? Why are they there? What do you want them to do? Right? Like, those are the things, like, know thyself, right? And so it's really answering the same exact question, except on a website, you're solving it by building something custom, by, you have control over the color, the typography, the layout, the imagery, all of that stuff. But on other platforms, you're not controlling that, but you're controlling the most important thing, which is the content. That's the whole point of all of it, right? And you need your content to be able to answer that same question the same way, right? Like, if you know who you're talking to and what you want them to do and where they're coming from and how they talk and how to engage with them and where they're looking, then you're going to do a great job on social media. But if you're the same way you'll do a terrible job on your website if you're just taking a stab in the dark and just doing stuff because you feel like it and picking colors because you feel like it, same problem will happen with social or with any kind of marketing effort, or even with talking to people in person, right? Like if you go up to somebody and they ask what you do and you speak to them in jargon that they don't know, like that's not useful. Like you have to be able to talk about yourself the way your audience can hear you. So, and it's not just about talking about yourself. Like it's about solving a problem, right? Like they don't want a drill, they want a hole in the wall. Like learn how to talk about the hole in the wall, right? So it's really all the same. Like honestly, I don't think my field's that complicated. Like it's so much more about like psychology and understanding people and understanding how that all works. And then once you know all that stuff, then you can start doing all the fun, like color, typography, layout, grid system stuff. But all that stuff is useless if you don't have those other questions answered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were just talking in the chat. We were talking about how to actually get engagement from the things that you're posting. And one of the things that I've seen is I'm a huge fan of camping. And one of the social media accounts I absolutely adore is KOA, which is like the Campgrounds of America.
Yep.
And theirs is KOA Campgrounds Twitter account with a K for camping. And so what I love about theirs is that they do a mixture of like, this is a beautiful place and here's a link that you can go to about a thing, and it may even be a link for their own stuff. But then they go and say like, oh, and by the way, have you ever thought about this ? And then you get that engagement that happens. You start seeing some people actually talking with them about stuff. And that happens both on the Twitter accounts as well as on the Instagram accounts and their YouTube account. Like all those kind of tie together. I like that. And I think that more questions need to be asked in order to really get that type of engagement. Or you need to have something that's so compelling that people want to share their version of the thing that you just did.
Yes. Now, I have a feeling that I'm probably going to make a talk about this at some time in the future, but there are so many.
We just went 10%. That's all.
That's fine. 10% of 0. You'll get it. But there are so many parallels between putting yourself out there as a business person and putting yourself out there in online dating.
Oh my God! I want to talk with you.
I've like
so much optimism. It's ridiculous.
And this show is now 4 hours long. Here we go.
No, but I would say some of the stuff that we're talking about consistency and engagement, right? So some of the worst things to see in a profile are like people that just talk about themselves, or people that just message you and say hi, and you're like, hi. Or they're like, I think you're hot. I'm like, yeah, that's why you swiped on me. What are we talking about? Right? Like people, but otherwise there's people that actually ask interesting questions like, hey, if you were a Chipotle burrito, what topping would you have? Or like, hey, do you like Samoas or Thin Mints more? And there's opinions, like there's a line in the sand on this. So like that, but that's more interesting. Oh my God, right?
This is so funny. I just 2 days ago started asking people, what's your nickname?
Mm-hmm.
I get so many answers from people now.
But that's exactly it, right? Like it's not just hi, which is, the same thing as just putting a tweet out there that's a statement like, hi. Like, no, it's ask a question. Like, let's have a back and forth and like give an answer and ask a question back. Like that's called conversing. But it works the same way. I mean, where have
you been my whole life? How have we not been best friends?
I don't know. I think
you are me in a better package, like with cuter hair. No,
okay,
I've been reading about this in California.
I will debate the cuter hair. I like your hair very much.
Oh, thank you. But what I'm saying is that this is so true. I think that we have lost, and maybe it's the screen, but I think we've lost what it means to be human. Because if I go to a bar and I sit down, which by the way, I learned how to go to bars because of WordCamp after parties.
Me too.
I never went to bars before, except for when I was a little kid and my alcoholic mom would bring me. Okay.
Yeah, I WordCamps were my introduction to professional bar going.
Hashtag community, right?
Yeah.
So I like to sit there. I'm like, well, I like to talk to people. So I sit there and then somebody's next to me. I go, hey, how you doing? They're like, whatever. And I'm not trying to pick up on them. I just talk to them. but it's funny because the more you practice talking to people, the more they talk to you. And even the other day, I was on the pier with my friend running errands, and this guy walks out there really dressed sharp, super nice shoes. His shirt was super expensive. Like, he does not look like he was belonging on the pier with a bunch of fishermen. And I just couldn't help myself. I go, you're really overdressed to the pier, dude. And he goes, oh yeah, I do a work, so I would check out the ocean, da, 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 da. And I'm like, are you from the Bay Area? And he's like, no, I'm from Scottsdale, Arizona, blah, 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 blah. And he just stood there and talked to me and Julie for like, I think 20 minutes. And I think we talk a lot about mental health, like this started as branding, but like for a minute, like think about it. We talk a lot about mental health, but we are not communicating as humans.
Yep. So
like, what I hear you saying is, let's worry about communicating as humans, and then we could talk about your color palette.
Yeah. I mean, that part of it kind of, I mean, I can bring a lot of talent and opinions to the table when it comes to color and typography and stuff, but all of that is 100% useless if we don't know what we're saying and who we're saying it to. Like, it doesn't matter.
And
like,
I guess in order to be able to figure out who you're saying it to, is you have to be talking with these folks. You have to actually have some back and forth, not just on your soapbox, yelling about whatever's going on in politics or whatever, but actually saying some things that have to do with your brand and getting them to talk about those things with you as well. And start a conversation. Yeah.
I mean, I actually am also the kind of person that talks to random people, and it's not because I'm actually an introvert. I'm not an extrovert, but I've realized just like how useful it is to talk to people and and again, this applies online, but also in person. Like, I love to compliment people on a decision that they've made or something they've done. So if someone's like got a super great outfit, like, you can tell they put it together and like I'm like, you have an awesome outfit. I love your necklace. Your hair looks great. Like, they did something. It is appearance based because that's all I can see, but like, it's a choice they made and I know that they made it. So I'm like, and it's like, random person next to me, like, your boots are awesome. You are rocking those boots.
Oh my God, my friends and I all do that, Michelle.
Yeah. But I mean,
but people think I'm a lesbian because of it. So I have to scale it back a little. I'm just trying to be supportive.
But it's the same kind of thing. Like, you're complimenting people on things they do. You're trying to make meaningful connections. You're trying to be helpful. It's the same thing whether you're a person talking to another person on the street or you're, trying to, honestly, I've also gotten a long-term multi-project client because I struck up a conversation on an airplane. And we started talking about code, and I showed him some stuff I was doing, and he hired me for like 3 projects.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I'm always being authentically me, like, no matter where I am, even if it's on an airplane, like.
Yeah. So like, one of my favorite Instagram accounts lately is Boss Babe. And I think they're really good about their branding. And I can always tell because it's like this really super, you can't see it, of course.
Oh, sure.
Super light pink, but with like, a black, And so I think that a lot of times people try to make their own profile look super cool or something. But not very often do we do it that way. I feel like, like, here's some girl in a swimsuit that's doing her fitness goals. Oh, look, there's Boss Babe, which you can't see because the computer hates my guts.
Yeah.
But like, so like, people are in the scrolling, they're in the feed, right? And then we're not reading, we're going like this. So when I'm talking about like, so now we got people talking to each other like normal human beings, you know who you are, but like, this is an opportunity to get recognized with the brand awareness. So for me, I always talk about Coca-Cola. People go, oh, branding doesn't matter. I want to know the ROI from this one tweet. And I go, well, I want to ask you a question. Why does Coca-Cola pay money to Clear Channel for billboards? Coca-Cola's been around for 200 years. I went to the point to work today. They don't have a contract with Coca-Cola. They're with Pepsi. What did I order? I ordered a Diet Coke.
Yep.
because I wanted a Coke. Now, the Coke pop, soda
Sure.
pop, soda
Right.
debate is regional, but I call it a Coke.
Yep.
So, and that's their whole campaign. Enjoy a Coke, share with your friends. It's all about friendly. But they spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in this area alone, millions of dollars on things that you would never be able to pinpoint. Well, I mean, they spend, I don't even know how much money at the movies. Why are they advertising? That's all you get.
Yep.
You don't even have a choice. It's going to be a Coca-Cola product.
Yep.
People would say to me, well, I don't understand this. I go, well, this is the story I tell them. So I used to work at Riggins Construction. And every day that I drove to work, there was a billboard that had a Coca-Cola product on it, Minute Maid something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And right there is where I had to U-turn. And on the corner was a 7-Eleven. So if I had seen and was conscious of the fact that there was a Diet Coke up there, and it subconsciously triggered me that I am thirsty, and yes, I would love a Coke right now. Even though I drink Diet Coke, I still call it Coke.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would go to 7-Eleven and I bought a Coke. Even if I told the cashier I saw this billboard and therefore I bought a Coke, they have no way of reporting it to 7-Eleven. And
Right.
7-Eleven has no way, corporate, and has no way to report it to Clear Channel, to report it to Coca-Cola. What is being paid for on a billboard is eyeballs, views, and we call it social media impressions.
Yep.
So
it's one of the touches. Yeah.
It's a touch.
Yep.
And you can't directly ever point to that. The fact that you got a one-click lead is a freaking miracle from that Instagram. That's just rare, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So when it comes to spending money with your marketing efforts, like how do you know when it's time to level it up, whether you're hiring a designer or a social media person or buying a website, or like when is it time in your business? What do you advise your clients? When is it time to kind of like level that up?
Yeah. I mean, I would say, I usually say if you're just starting out, you don't have any answers to any questions yet, and it's not worth investing money into. It's better to just like ship it, right? Like ship something that sucks and then make it better later, right? So at the beginning, unless you happen to have a bunch of money, like I will gladly take it and work with you on trying to answer those questions. That's fine. But like, you're not bad if you don't have the money. It's better to try to ship something because then at least you have data to compare against. Right? Then you can learn, right? Maybe you learned that you did a terrible job, but you learn, right? I think it's at the point where what you have is kind of causing you more frustration than good, right? Like you can kind of tell when you're growing out of your shell, you know. That's kind of the point where you want to invest, and you have to keep an eye out for like all of those times when you're starting, when you need to find a new shell. That's when you need to invest in something more. And I'm learning, so I can't talk really much about what I'm doing at Target, but I am in the internal side, in the marketing side. And so I'm actually learning a lot about big level marketing stuff and like return on ad spend and impressions and all that stuff on like a big ass corporate level. And it's really, really interesting to learn about how that scale measures a view or a guest or whatever, and that's really interesting. So I'm kind of like mulling over all of that and all the stuff you were talking about with eyeballs, but it's actually really funny. I've got a story. So back when I did drink soda all the time, I call it pop, but like that's because I'm from Chicago, and I'll just call it soda because it's like moderately acceptable to most regions. So back when I drank soda a lot, and I went to movies a lot. I still go to movies a lot. Diet Coke had an advertisement with a song by the Temper Trap. I forget the name of the song. It was a really popular one. But anyway, and they played it before every single movie during this Diet Coke commercial, like every single movie. Diet Coke temper trap. And it got to the point where I'd hear the song because it was popular. I'd hear it on the radio. I'd be like, oh man, I really want a Diet Coke. Like, and I like know, like I studied psychology in college. Like I know what they're doing. It still worked. Like all those touches, like did I buy a Diet Coke every single time I was at the movie theater because I saw that commercial? No. But like arbitrarily at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday when I heard the song come on the radio, did I want a Diet Coke? Yes. Like impressions do work.
Yeah, and that's the high level brand awareness where you're like search Google tissue Kleenex copy Xerox.
Yep.
So that association and the scrolling, because that's where the visual part, when you can finally when you're finally at that level, that's why the consistency is so important. Because it's that person, and you could tell their personality or the brand, right? So, but I feel like a lot of people it's like musicians. They get tired of songs.
Sure.
I used to do music at church, and then people were like, oh, I'm sick of that song. Well, everybody else likes the Chris Tomlin song. So guess what? That's what we're singing. And like you get sick of it because it's inside baseball for you, or you practice it too many times. And like we get bored with stuff, but the audience doesn't. And we are not our audience. And I wish we could say that. You are not your audience. I actually did a kind of a review with somebody, and they asked me about their really like famous big enterprise level WordPress company, asked me about their website. I'm like, I didn't even know what you guys do, and I work in WordPress. What is this website? What are these words? It looks like you guys are just super excited. Like, to me, it reminded me of the MIT competition where they solve this giant puzzle. Okay, it's something you do for yourselves, so you know how smart you are. Okay, so what are you doing? Yes. I thought you were owned by this other company. I didn't even know you were you guys build websites? I didn't know you do that. Like, where on your website does it say where on your website does it say anything that you build websites?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, people don't know, and they're like, well, we want really challenging products and projects that challenge us. Okay, well, do you like making money?
Sometimes that might not be the one that needs to be the challenging one. You just might need the making money
one. You need the little bit of volume so that you can have the project that challenges you.
Right.
But the whole point is we're not supposed to be challenged. We're supposed to be getting work. You want to challenge yourself, go start learning German on Duolingo. You know what I mean? Like,
I actually, so there's a lot of this in the design agency world too, where people build things to impress other designers, which is fine. Like, you can do that, like build your thing to win a design contest, but like, don't turn around and say that it's going to solve a client problem. Like, no, you're doing it to impress me, right? But I'm not your client. And so, yeah, there's a lot of that where we're kind of speaking to each other instead of speaking to our audience, and that goes.
Some of that's good when it comes to recruiting.
Well, sure,
company culture.
But then you're speaking to your audience. Your audience, if your audience is other designers, then speak to your audience. But if your audience is, not, then don't do that. Like, don't, and it goes into visuals too. Like, don't come up with some arbitrarily clever navigation system or this ridiculous parallax thing or whatever. If you're just trying to have like normal lay people interact with it, like, it's going to be worse.
I just find it fascinating to me. Like, even when this bar that I always go to, Hennessy's, I see their happy hour flyer and I know what it looks like. And there's a big version of it in the bathroom. And then I'm like, where's your happy hour menu? And they handed me this giant green book that I thought was the wine list. I'm like, yeah, but where is the menu? They're like, it's the front page. I'm like, what? because it looks nothing like the posters that keep showing everywhere. I'm like, guys, like Linda, listen, Linda, listen. Put the same thing. Like I go there. I've spent I don't even know
Right.
thousands of dollars in that bar.
Yep.
I had no idea that was the happy hour menu.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
So
wow.
it goes from that to like online, right? We are so inundated with visual stimuli that if we don't, like, you're wearing a pink polka dots, like even right now you're still on brand.
Yeah.
At whatever o'clock at night it is for you.
I live it.
You know? So it's Michelle.
Yep. But that goes back to the whole like impressions thing, right? Like if you're visually consistent, like visuals are the first thing we have. And so like if you as a person are visually consistent, or if you as a business is visually consistent, if all of your materials are always with the same typography and colors and hierarchy and imagery, and they just feel like you, then your impressions work better, your touches work better because people associate it with you. Like I've gotten referrals from people that met me a bajillion years ago and then happened to see me again and still remembered me because I was still consistent. And so therefore those touches like still applied now. Whereas if I changed myself all the time, like I couldn't take advantage of that. And I'm not saying every person has to have like a visual thing about themselves. Like that's not necessarily true, but as a business entity, you don't have to go all out like I did, but as a business entity, everything you have should feel like you. It should feel like your business, right? Like everything should feel like it belongs. There shouldn't be like one of these things is not like the other. Like all of it should feel cohesive.
Right.
It's easy to have a style guide when you're the only person. But when you have a bunch of people, the style guide is what gives people the ability to kind of make sure that they stay within the lines that they need to be in order for people to understand this is the company that I'm interacting with. It's Mercedes. It looks just like the Mercedes logo. It's always the Mercedes logo.
Right. And Mercedes doesn't freaking change their logo. Okay, people. I just saw an article today on LinkedIn that Weight Watchers rebranded to WW. And not surprisingly, they're having trouble. They've been Weight Watchers for millions of years. Do you see Jenny Craig changing their brand? Yeah, KFC changed from Kentucky Fried Chicken when fried was like as bad as asbestos. Okay, but Weight Watchers, it's about losing weight. Everybody knows Weight Watchers. Now they're reaching out to Oprah for help. You know what? I feel like so many times when people rebrand, they're doing it because somebody's bored or somebody got a job and they have to justify their salary. But they're not even thinking about, you make a new logo and you're like, are you for real? No, I like the way that Lifter LMS did it because they kind of got people involved and we got to vote on the little new rocket ship. And that was fun, right? Because that's kind of on their brand, and then there's been other people who look like, Laverne and Shirley. So you're switching it up and then people don't even know what you're doing. What is that even happening?
To your point earlier about the Mercedes too, I was thinking about and you were talking about how multiple people, it's not just one person, but if you went into a Mercedes dealership, probably all the salespeople would be dressed a certain way that fits with how the brand is. If you go to Target, they're all going to be wearing a red shirt, but not khakis anymore because now they're allowed to wear jeans. They just announced this. It was a big deal.
Huge,
it's a huge rollout.
That's as big as mustaches at Disneyland. So this is crazy.
Yeah, but there's room for self-expression, but there's a consistency and they can scale that up to multiple people. It's representative of the business. If I was, I don't know, I wouldn't be able to sell Mercedes like this, right? But I'm not selling Mercedes. So I'm not, this doesn't match that brand, but this matches what I do very well.
Right. I mean, even there's a Mercedes dealership in Laguna Niguel that built, and they got to name the street. What did they name it? Star Drive. So now, their little jingle is 5-star service at 1-star drive.
Ooh, nice.
Nice. It's super
That's
good,
so
right?
Good. That's so good.
Because you're it's a star, it's a star, and it's not changing. It's always a Mercedes. And it's funny because in the automobile industry, the design effort isn't into the rebranding. The design effort is into the vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like if we put that effort, even in WordCamps, like, why are we redesigning logos every single time?
I have opinions on that.
No, seriously,
not
like
good.
I just realized this, and I told LA people, I don't even know if we're gonna have one in LA, but I said, listen, let's stop doing this. I went to Nijmegen, and their logo's the same. It's always the same. Just leave it. Just stop changing the theme. No company, we are wasting resources on something like printing. We're just like, forget, let's think that we cared about being sustainable. Like, I don't care that much, but like, I know WordPress people do. Why are we reprinting stuff and redesigning stuff all the time? A company should do that. We should never do that. But it's fun for us because it's for us. But think about how much money every camp spends just on rebranding.
Yep.
And then we say WordPress has a brand problem because there's 500 WordCamps a year, and they all have a different brand every single year. Are you guys crazy? It's the craziest thing. Like, one day it just clicked for me, and I said, this is the biggest waste of time. But like, when you start doing that stuff, it almost always backfires in the real world. In the real world, it backfires.
Yep.
So you have to keep that consistent. And I would just like to say, like, also with your images on your website, on your blog posts. Like, first of all, have one.
Yes.
And stay consistent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's what shows on the internet. Open Graph is like Facebook's version of Google SEO stuff, okay?
Yep.
So like, just like, tool or tip of the week, go check Open Graph. Developers do bugger tool, okay? And if you don't know the link, just tweet me and I'll send it to you, because I do it all the time. In fact, I now go to the debugging tool to scrape a website before I post it. Do you know how many times I have to do that every time I'm at the travel agency? Every time. Because you know why I learned? Because when I post it, it says this link has never been shared on Facebook.
Wow.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Because
That's
you can
awesome
find
right
that out.
there.
And then
That's
it doesn't pull up the image. And then like, this is ridiculous. You guys aren't even thinking. Big, giant companies, okay? Not our little WordPress world. Big, giant tourism companies where millions of dollars are being spent aren't even doing this right. I keep telling everybody, listen, it's a secret. Go hit the travel industry. Make websites great again, okay? They are the worst websites I've ever seen. I thought they were bad when I was working at Give and working nonprofit. Nonprofit websites are awesome. Travel industry websites are horrible. Just go cold call those bad boys and fix it. And then they always post from something stupid. It's terrible.
Yep.
You can make so much money. That's my tool or tip of the week.
Yeah. And all you got to do is be 10% better, and that's all it needs.
Right? 10% goes a long way.
Yeah.
A long way. It was funny that you said that, Bridget, about the whole tool and tip of the week thing. We totally didn't even do that because
I know
Michelle was so engaging and she was totally telling us all this cool stuff, and we learned a bunch today. And yeah,
Michelle is our tool or tip of the week.
Which one am I? You decide.
Bridget said it, not me.
Well, she's not a tool, but there was a lot of things that we learned. Be consistent, be self-aware, decide what you want to be, do it. Find out what your audience likes, who they like, what they want. In your preparation, do some journaling. Who is your audience? So there's the chicken and the egg thing with the audience, okay? So there's people that believe you should write for your audience, find out who your audience is and write for them. And there's people that believe you should write what you want to write and your audience will find you. Whichever way you believe, do one of those and do it.
And see if it works.
Yeah, because that's what I did. Yep. I just started writing because people ask me questions. Here's the answer. If I do it for one person, I do it for the whole world. I don't even care how many 20 hits on my website. It's like a freaking revival. It's a 5.0 earthquake. I don't care because that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to educate people, right? And so like, whichever way you want to do it, know who they are. But for sure, when you're discussing with people on the internet and talking to them, know who you're talking to.
Yep.
Try to stay away from jokes if you don't know your audience that well.
Yeah. Meet people where they are.
Meet people where they are. Spend time looking at the internet. You know, it's like situational awareness. You don't walk into a room. Okay, so here's something really bad. So I'll tell you, because the reason why I harp on situational awareness, because I'm the one that's like does this wrong all the time. For like 20 years, my first 20 years of my life, I'd be saying something funny. It's completely inappropriate. So last day of high school, we're all signing yearbooks. Everyone's sitting around crying. I'm like, what's wrong with you guys? Did somebody die or something?
Literally, somebody died.
Yes, my favorite chemistry teacher, Mr. Avedition, okay? And you know what? Sometimes not talking is a good thing to do. And I do things the wrong way so that you don't have to. So learn. Learn from my mistakes. Sometimes just shut up and read the internet. Don't say anything, right? Like, because maybe it's not appropriate, or maybe you're not in that joke, and maybe it's not for you to say. Just stop, drop, and roll.
And with that, it's into the show.
Yep.
Michelle, where can folks find you, and where should they be following you on all the socials?
Sure. So I am Mark Time Media pretty much everywhere on the internet. I'm #1 for my name on Google, so you can just Google me and find me. It's great SEO. But you can, my website, marktimemedia.com, personal site, my name is michelle.com, and my fitness blog for freelancers and creative entrepreneurs is fitnessandfreelance.com.
Yay. I'm so excited about that. Thank you very much, folks. Make sure you go to our website at WPwatercooler.com/subscribe. That's where you can learn to subscribe to this content. And we're available as audio, as video, live stream. We live stream on all the places. Any place that that will accept us to live stream to them, we definitely should live stream to them. Come on, Instagram, hurry up and make that happen. Hey, talk to y'all later. You have a good one.
Bye.